Hello, everyone. We are here to wrap up our Giving Tuesday campaign. If you missed us before, I'm going to introduce myself again. My name is Kelly McClelland, and I'm the coordinator for First Response Outreach for the Truck Safety Coalition. I also am a family member of someone who was killed in a truck crash, and my stepmom was killed, and my two brothers survived, one with a permanent disability. I have to say that I've learned a lot about Facebook Live today. I've also learned a lot about Giving Tuesday, and I am awestruck and inspired by the generosity that I've seen today of our communities, of our volunteers, of people we don't know. I'm excited to announce, not very many people know this yet, but we have reached $10,000. So we have exhausted our two donors matching, which means that we have raised over $30,000 today. And truly I'm blown away. And I have to say, Giving Tuesday is a movement. It is an idea that if we all harness our generosity and unleash it on the world at the same time, we can really move mountains. And what I've seen today is, and it's not even just the donations or the people who have been willing to create their own Facebook fundraisers. It is the people who I've met through my first response work that have shared my fundraiser. The people who have my friends, my personal friends, my professional friends who have shared my fundraisers. And I know that this is something that across the board we're all seeing. All of the volunteers I've talked to today are also just blown away. So thank you all so much for your support. It means the world. And most importantly, I think it means that the people who are losing loved ones today in truck crashes and the people who are losing them tomorrow and the next day and the next day, we're going to be there for them. Without your generosity, without your donations, we can't do the work that we do. And so if anyone new is watching, I'm going to go ahead and just tell you again who we are. The Truck Safety Coalition is a partnership between two 501c3 nonprofit organizations, Parents Against Tired Truckers, PAT, and the Crash Foundation. We work to provide compassionate support to truck crash victims, folks who have survived truck crashes, survivors come in all levels of injury, trauma. The survivors in our community are some of the most amazing people that I've ever met. Nancy, Sarah Jo, my brothers Matthew and Peter, all of you. I don't want to forget anybody. There are many of you, but I just want to shout out a couple people who have been really integral in our fundraising efforts today. So the other thing that we do is we work very hard to try to reduce the number of crashes. We do not want to see people go through what we've been through. And so we work very hard to educate policymakers, to educate the media, to educate the public on the truck safety issues and evidence-based solutions to the things that have led to many of our losses and many of our injuries. We have a conference every other year called Sorrow to Strength. And when I first found out about this organization and heard about Sorrow to Strength, those words meant something to me because I knew the depth of the despair that I felt, and the idea that that could somehow be turned into a strength was really inspiring. And Sorrow to Strength is amazing. And we will resume that once we're able to be together again. I talked about the matching already. If you haven't donated yet, we still welcome your donation, even if it won't be matched. Many of our fundraisers are still going to be up, through the rest of the week. Please feel free to donate. If you wait till payday or, whatever, we will be grateful for it. Let's see, I want to make sure. It's been a long day. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. So tonight, to wrap it up, we have Jane Mathis here. Jane is the Vice President of the Truck Safety Coalition. And I'm just going to ask you, Jane, to share your story and about your relationship with the Truck Safety Coalition and what it's meant to you over the years.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jane Mathis, as Kelly said. I got involved in Truck Safety Coalition in 2006, although the crash of my son's crash was in 2004. They're all terrible stories, and I've tuned in a few times today, and of course I've heard a lot of the stories before because I've been involved in this organization for a long time now. There's a lot of similarity with what has happened. A lot of rear end, tired trucker, distracted trucker kind of issues. I mean, I know that's what happened with Kelly's family, and Dawn was on earlier and with her dad. But my son and his wife, David and Mary Catherine Mathis, were 23 years old, returning from South Florida to St. Augustine from their honeymoon. They'd only been married 5 days. They were on I-95 and they were stopped in traffic. Same story, totally stopped. And a Winn-Dixie tractor trailer driver fell asleep at the wheel, didn't even attempt to brake. They are stopped on the road, and he rear-ended them, and the crash made their car spin around and get wedged underneath his truck, and then the gas tank exploded. And so they both were dead at the scene. The way I found out about it was really awful. The only thing left of the car really was the license plate. And so we have registration stickers on the license plate in Florida. And I had been helping my son by paying for his registration. And so the highway patrol tracked me down through that number and went to my home. I was not home because I was at work. And my neighbor said that I was a real estate agent and gave her the name, gave the officer the name of my company, but she gave him the name of the wrong company. So he went to that company, but they knew me there and got them on the right track. So I worked at a small office downtown. So I remember being in the office that day. The crash was at 10 o'clock in the morning, but they notified me about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They parked in front of, any of you know St. Augustine, it's a very small little quaint downtown, and to see a highway patrol car parked in front of your office is not a usual sight, let's put it that way. And I remember thinking to myself, oh boy, somebody's day is going to be ruined. Huh. Little did I know it was going to be mine and my whole family and all my friends, etc. So anyway, the next thing I know, my manager is coming to me and saying, Jane, this officer is here to speak to you. And we met in the conference room. And he told me, and he didn't know anything. He gave me a phone number. It was so awful. He told me both the kids were dead and how he found out who I was. And here's a phone number if you want to know more. I mean, it was so cold and awful. I can't even begin to tell you. Then the burden was on me to call my son, my ex-husband, and he thankfully called Mary Catherine's parents. I don't think I could have done that. So that is my sad tale. 23 years old, married 5 days. Both of them graduates of Chapel Hill at University of North Carolina. Just a total loss. 2 charming, wonderful children. Anyway, so a friend of mine, I had this wonderful group, I continue to have this wonderful group of friends here. We call ourselves the Posse, and they got the name of the Posse from our crash. And because these 5 women just, bless their hearts, they just moved in basically to my house. They didn't let me answer the telephone. They kept track of every bit of food or whatever was brought to the house. They took all my phone calls. They screened all my phone calls. So everybody was calling them my posse, and that's how that name got stuck. But one of my posse girls is a good internet researcher, and she found the name of the Truck Safety Coalition. And she told me about it. And I tried to get on one day shortly after the crash. This was 2004. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't handle it. I just dove into my work and worked. It was a high time in real estate, thank goodness. So I would work as hard as I could, and I would just drop into bed 11, 12 o'clock at night. And that's how my life went for 2 years. But 2006, I said, I've got to start doing something. So I got on the website and I saw that they were looking for state volunteers, a volunteer for each state. And there wasn't one for Florida. I went, perfect. So I got a hold of the executive director, ended up driving up to Washington, and I knew nothing. I knew nothing about truck safety. I knew nothing about rules, regulations. I knew nothing. And when he told me that at that time, over 3,500 people a year were killed in big truck accidents with over 100,000 wounded, some of them severely, I was blown away. My reaction was, how can our government let this happen to us? How is this possible? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So we talked for a long time, and we agreed that I would work with them. And I just went for a walk. The office was near DuPont Center then. And I just got out. I mean, I'm from Florida. I don't know anything about Washington. And I just started walking all over DuPont Center, around in circles, and thinking about everything he said. And I thought, that number just cannot be right. So I stopped and I called him. And he said, yes, those are the right numbers. And I just was floored. And that's when I knew, we've got to work on this. We have got to. So that's my whole story. And I just want to give you all a shout out. Thank you for tuning in, for donating. And I really hope any of you that have had this horrible experience will really consider joining not only our fundraising, but come to Sorrow to Strength, join our webpage, get in touch with us, because it's very comforting to know that there's so many people in this same boat. It really, really, I've made such wonderful, long-lasting friends and who have helped me. I can't even begin to tell you the benefit. So that's it. I'm going to turn over to Kelly again.
Thank you so much. That is, it's really funny because I've never heard the story about how you found out. But we found out, well, my dad, so my brother Peter was 16 at the time. My other brother Matthew was 12. And Peter was in the back seat, lounged out asleep after a late night playing cards with his cousins, last night of vacation. And so they were rear-ended. They didn't think there was anybody else in the car other than Susan, my stepmom, and Matthew in the passenger seat, because it's real. I mean, the back of the car was just the only place that was not crumpled, was exactly where the compartment where Peter was laying. So they didn't even know he was there. And then he kind of, reached his arm up and they saw him. And so they got him out of the car and they, were talking to him. And he said, my dad works at Goucher College, and he hadn't worked there for a couple of years. So they called Goucher College and somehow got somebody who knew my dad and sent him a message and said, we just got a call from, this children's hospital. And they said that, your sons are there. And my dad thought that must be a mistake. There's no reason they would be there. So how funny that it's, the way that they found, I mean, it's just convoluted and anyway, I don't envy that job. That's for certain. Thank you so much. And thank you for your service to the organization. And, we just have to, we can't stop fighting. We can't stop working. And I know that for many of us, and I'm sure that if you're watching this and you've been through this, you've had the thought, I need to do something. What can I do? We have been around for over 30 years fighting this fight. We have resources, knowledge that you can't even imagine. And we can help you. We can help to facilitate that action that you want to take. And we also, there's something very healing. I think that there are different ways to kind of cope and move forward, carrying the burden of this awful loss, or for people who survived this awful trauma. I think that there's the fighting and there's the support. And some people might not really want to go and tell their story and work on things that way, but maybe they really want to help other people who are just starting out on this path, or vice versa. My father he has a really hard time making that initial outreach to people and saying, hey, we're here if you need us. But he will go to DC. We'll do an interview with the media anytime. So, we all have the things that help us to cope. And so for me, that experience of being able to share my journey and what it was like for us, and I think having both someone who was killed and also survivors with varying degrees of injury, um, it is a lot of experience that I can share, and you do not have to pave this path for yourself. We've done it. People did it before me. I did it before you. Um, Not you, Jane, but the next person.
Right, right.
And we can guide you. We can help you. We can, give you our lessons learned. So please, please donate. We will use your donation for good purpose, to continue developing our programs, doing our outreach, educating people on the issues. And also, please join us, as Jane said, like our Facebook page. We will post things all year long that will educate you on truck safety issues, share stories with you, give you opportunities to act. You can call us if you want to connect with somebody. On our website, trucksafety.org, is our contact information. You can email us at info@trucksafety.org or call us on the office number. You can message us here on Facebook. However it is that you can get in contact with us, go for it. We would love to hear from you. We can add you to our peer support group. You can, any way that you want to get involved, we will help make that happen. So thank you so much, Jane, for your time. And thank you all. This has been a wonderful experience to share some of our volunteers' experiences with you, to share my experience with you. And I thank you all so much for tuning in. Thanks again, Jane.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.